Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Donnie Morley.
And today we are joined by mystical life coach, Adrienne Shulze, everybody.
Hello, thank you. Thank you.
Adrienne, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here. You're talking about a really, really interesting subject today, which is becoming a mystical life coach. And you and I were in class together, and I would love to start from the beginning, tell the listeners at home what really guided you to sign up for the program and what your thoughts were before you even began this journey. Because I know you and I spoke about this a little bit before we started this, that we had no idea really what this 6-month journey was going to be like. I think that we dove in being like, yeah, we'll learn some stuff, but it was really life-changing and mind-blowing in a lot of different ways. So what resonated with you about Rachel and what made you sign up?
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to give just like a brief history to where I was in my life before and what led me up to Rachel. And so just was probably in a really rough time. I think it was right around COVID that I was really struggling in my life and in my relationship, in my marriage. And so coming off of a decent sized separation and coming back together. But in the midst of all of this separation and before finding Rachel, I was really, really identified in the medicine world and was constantly reaching out to the medicine community and sitting with a different kind of medicine or the same medicine probably twice a month, getting private requests to come in and sit and so on and so forth. So that was my life. I was really reaching outwardly for a Band-Aid that made me feel better. And coming back together with my partner, actually with medicine in Sedona. And so we came together and it was just like, it was all or nothing. This is like our last, if we can sit with this together, then maybe there's a chance that we can continue our relationship together. So it worked out. We came back together, but there was still something there was still something about that needed to be worked on, obviously, for the both of us. And so found Paul Chek and found Rachel. And when I listened to her, I knew that was the key that I was looking for, that missing piece to my puzzle to heal myself. And even though I did all of this extensive work within the medicine community, I still knew that there was something missing. But I also knew that it came down to like the childhood wound. But there was that piece was missing. Like, I need to fill this gap. I need to understand because what I'm doing is not working. And so fast forward to Rachel's podcast and having it just shake me. I felt every fiber in my being. I was vibrating, I was shaking, listening to it. So I knew that resonated so much with me that I had to investigate with it. So I signed up for it, not really even knowing, just like, yeah, I want to get into this. I want to see what this is about. And knowing that I still had the healing deep within me that needed to be resolved. And I also knew that I could help other people. So finding her podcast, sitting in the interview with her, like I was unprepared in the most crazy of ways. Even in my very first interview with her, I came no hair, no makeup done. And I'm like, this is just who I am. And then when I signed up, the finances were such that we were in the right place at right time with the finances for both Roger and myself, because we both took this course together. And so with that being said, first class comes, and I was just telling Ellie right before this podcast that I came in kind of cocky, thinking, well, if medicine can't, like, if medicine has shown me all of this stuff, and so what more could Rachel show me? I'm sure there's a few good pieces of nuggets and information that she can share and that I could get from her and apply. But I was unprepared for what came next. And so, yeah, with the first class, we jumped right into it, didn't we? Like, we had homework that we had to come in and be prepared, and we had to take this course before we could even become the coach. And I thought that was really beautiful work that she had us do. So yeah, there's my before to getting to Rachel, thinking that I wouldn't learn anything or learn much from her, and maybe just to some golden nuggets that I could take away, but that was absolutely incorrect.
Yeah. I think that each one of us who have become a mystical life coach is exactly the same thing of, you go in, we didn't have like a podcast where you can listen to where you really understand what this whole process is like. And then from the first class on, it whips you in the face, and then strap in because the rest of the ride is insane. So you talked a little bit about, just wanting to gather a little few nuggets and then walking into the first class and having that happen. Could you talk about the changes that were rapidly happening? Because, I was fortunate enough to witness your journey, and man, you worked through some crazy things in class and you blossomed in the most insane ways. And so could you talk a little bit about what were some of the initial challenges that you faced as you started this program?
Yeah, well, I think we all blossomed going through it, because I witnessed that in you as well. And so tell me your question again, was what were some of the initial things, like,
Yeah,
what
like what when you
up?
went into this thinking like, oh, I'm just going to gather a few nuggets, but it slapped you real quick. So what was that like? What were some of the challenges that you experienced, or some of the moments where you were like, oh, this isn't gonna be what I thought it was gonna be?
Yeah, so right off the bat, probably I'd say class one, I realized that the severity and the seriousness of this healing work. It really shook me to my core, not just the first week, but the first month. I was completely shaken. Every belief that I had up to that point was completely shaken and destroyed. And then when I got to the core, or when Rachel got to the core, that was completely shaken up as well. So I was probably within the first month left with, what do I believe now? I don't know what to believe. Everything that I had thought I believed, all of the work that I had worked up to in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. It's not, there's maybe threads of resonance or threads of truth, but it was not a divine truth. It was not the divine sight that I had. And so it shook me, this class within the first month and a half completely shook me to my core. And what I noticed is I completely retracted from wanting to speak up and out and participate. So I found myself in this behavior mode of this scared little girl wanting to participate or afraid of speaking up, because I was worried about the other people's reactions. So this is actually beautiful, because all of these programs are now, we're being filleted open at this point throughout class about what are, at least for me, what my beliefs, thoughts, programs, all of that was all about. So I was definitely went through bouts of depression, some serious depression, where Ellie, I know that I reached out to you several times throughout class about not knowing if I was going to make class, or not knowing if I was going to make it at all, because I was in some really, really tough places throughout this experience. And I remember talking to some of the coaches as the course went on, and there was always this thought. It was like class 1 or 2, I was always thinking or expecting, hey, why aren't we going to go around and share who we are and what we're about to each other? Kind of hi, I'm Adrienne. And this is where I come from, and this is like how many children I have, or this is my story. But I noticed that she never did that. She never gave us the opportunity for that. And I understood why about halfway during class is because we're spending 6 months together discovering who we are. And I didn't want any preconceived notions about who Ellie was or any of my other classmates, right? So I get to know Ellie as I go along. I get to know myself as I go along. I get to know everybody as I go along. So that was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. I'd like to ask, so you mentioned about like the speaking up to, you were scared to like speaking up and you were finding yourself kind of like as this little girl. Part of the beauty that I saw going through this program was the fact that you get to witness other people going through their traumas, opening up to their wounds. And then for me, that allowed me more to speak up. Because the more and more that I started recognizing, oh, this other person has the same thing as I do, it gave me a lot of comfort of knowing, oh, I'm not the only one that feels this. I'm not the only one who's experiencing this. And for me, that really helped me find my voice in class. Now, I'm normally quite a confident, outgoing person, and I've got no problem sharing things. But I even found in this environment that I was like, Phil, with being in this environment, was that one of the contributing factors for you to help opening up, or was it more about you finding your own power within?
I'd say it was, I think, both. I needed to open up for myself. I have a lot of trauma around my throat. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I had thyroid cancer 17 years ago. So my thyroid is completely taken from me. So a lot of my voice being taken from me. So me actually speaking up in front of people that I didn't know and sharing vulnerable stuff was incredibly hard for me, and people I didn't know or trust, very, very hard for me. But I knew that there is something within me that I have where I get to a place that I can just flip a switch and then I can express what needs to be expressed, although maybe shaky voice, maybe not being able to speak eloquently in the way that I want to communicate. It makes sense to me, but I can't actually say it the way I need to say it. So there's that, but also as far as like resonating with other people in class, for me, speaking up, I still really, really struggled with speaking. I think with really speaking up in the sense, even though I have this ability to make this switch, I still have a hard time sharing, and I don't want to share things, even though I know this does not make any sense. Like I know I'm coming into this being vulnerable, but I'm also guarded at the same time, I guess is what it is. Does that make sense? So I know that I have to do something for myself. I know I need to show up this way for people, but I'm also still guarded in the same way, where I'm only going to give you like nuggets of information to go off of.
Yeah. Something as you were speaking, something that came up for me was I realized on this healing journey, and tell me if you can relate to this, of I run a lot of resistance programs of going into my pain. And that's something that I saw in you a lot, which is a reflection of me, of like, it's so painful and I don't want to touch this subject. And it was like, and I remember these beautiful moments you had of like, Rachel was like really getting you in there, and you had this resistance going in, but then the moment that you really just dissolved that and you went in, it was so much beautiful healing that was going on within you. Can you talk a little bit about those resistance programs? Because I think a lot of people run that, especially when it comes to diving into the pain.
Well, yeah, the resistance programs, again, that's me being vulnerable and open and raw and not wanting people to see me that way and trying to remain this, this very strong person. But with my experience with, being in the medicine space for so long that I also knew that I couldn't censor myself. So it was just this big struggle, this big internal struggle with myself of knowing that I had to do this, but not wanting to do it, but knowing that I had to do it, but not wanting to do it. And then finally just being like, fine, I know I'll do it. So it is absolutely resistance. And it is a matter of that attachment to looking a certain way, presenting myself a certain way, not feeling shameful for expressing myself or worried about saying the things that I feel like are my truth, but would offend somebody else. And so I know that some of the, in class with some of the healings that we did and the things that Rachel did with me specifically with a lot of people, right, in class, but specifically me in and around my voice was really, really interesting. And, and as a result of that healing and the growth and my own healing that I've done for myself, not just with the help of Rachel in class, but my own internal healing, how resistant that is for me is because it's so painful. And diving into that pain as I know that I have to do it. Again, it's just like, I know I have to get in there and do it, as painful as it is. I have to do it. There's no other choice but for me to have to go in and do it. Although I don't want to do it, but I know I have to, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Because what's the other option? The other option is how we've lived our life the whole, this entire time, which is just suppressing the pain, which is just ignoring the pain. And I'm with you. I had a lot of moments of like, I don't want to go into this, but it's like, okay, well, you chose this path for a reason. And the other option is go into it. And then what happens when you go into it? I mean, that's the thing, is that fear keeps us from really seeing the magic that can unfold when you go into the pain. So many people refuse to go into the pain. But I think, I've always felt really connected to you, very deeply connected. And your vulnerability and the way that you dove in really was inspiring. And I see that that's what you're going to do for a lot of people in this world is, the further we get into our pain, the more we go into the darkness is, a reflection of how we're going to help others. So it was just really magical to see. But Adrienne, I really want to get into the topic of plant medicine, because this is something I know that Danny also has a lot of questions on and things like that, because you've been in the plant medicine world for so long. And I think a lot of people think that that's the answer to everything. And you had to go through this program to understand that the power is within, that healing is all within, and to know that that's a modality. And that's something that we really learn at Masters of Self University is it's a tool and it can help you definitely along your journey, but it's not the answer. So I'd love for you to talk about that, because I think that's an important thing that people need to hear.
Yeah. So I did have quite a journey with plant medicine. Like I was saying earlier, like I really identified with, going to ayahuasca every other weekend, or knowing, close personal people and groups and personal invitations. Is there room for plant medicine with this work? My belief is yes. Still, yes. How? Because there's still some people that need it, in a sense that they don't know how to connect with their heart. And it is a beautiful opportunity to allow someone to fully, because in plant medicine, what does it really do? It just drops down all the barriers, right? It opens it up us up and really shows us, reminds us who we really are. And so with all these barriers melting away in the medicine, this is a beautiful time to start showing people that connection to the heart, that exercise of dropping into the heart and growing the light, and being able to not have all of this extrasensory stuff that goes on, that they're just focusing here on the heart. Now, is it going to be a need for everyone forever? No. I believe that there's just some people, and in some certain instances, that some people still do need it because they do have so much trauma that they are struggling in certain areas. And so why cannot we add this medicine to help open the heart up to really dive into seeing what it is? It drops and melts things away. So then there can be that connection. There can be that opportunity to allow divine sight and the truth of the situation and the story to come in, right? So it is a beautiful opportunity to see the things that maybe people aren't willing to see outside of it. Again, I don't believe it's going to be forever and ever, because this work that we have done itself is medicine. And boy, as soon as I had gotten to that point in my my experience, in my 6 months experience here, it was like, I don't ever need to step back into medicine ever again. There's absolutely no way on God's green earth I need to, because that's exactly what I was doing with plant medicine. My own journey was I was too powerless to be able to see the power within me, even though that's what the medicine kept showing me was, you've got the power, you've got the power. I couldn't see it for myself. So yeah, I think that there is a need, case by case, person to person, but it's not for everybody forever. And again, my experience is I don't feel like I need it, because what I've learned, the healing that I've done on myself, the power that I have within myself right now and forever, that's something that I can't ever forget now that I've been able to remember it and reclaim it, right? And the healing that I've been able to do is really the medicine itself. And the pain, oh my God, it hurts so good, but that pain is just really beautiful medicine too, because even when you're in plant medicine, like the pain is like the taste of, like, say, ayahuasca. It does not taste good, right? The pain is in the purge. The pain is in all of the darkness, but there's always beauty at the end, right? Well, so this is no different. You're just not taking anything in other than these beautiful teachings, and the teachings can make you purge. The teachings can make you feel sick, and they can hurt like you on a physical level. But as you begin to alchemize that and transmute that, because you've got the tools to be able to do it forevermore, you don't have to go to anybody. You don't ever have to go to another shaman or facilitator ever again, right? Like, you are the facilitator. You are your own shaman, because you are the medicine.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to share a little bit of my story with that, because a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, I came back from traveling in Asia and fallen into very deep and dark depression. I started using cannabis because I started realizing I had this potential to relive any memory from my past. And I would go in, I would treat it as a ceremony. I would put, music on, and I would go in with the medicine, and I would start reliving these things that were traumatizing me from the time that I was in Asia. And instead of healing, though, what it was doing was just further traumatizing me and bringing me back to these moments that were incredibly difficult for me to move through. And then I had to step away from cannabis for a very long time, and I've never really used it often. I've never been like really into it anyway. But I had to go for a good year or two without touching it. And now, starting this work with Rachel, I found myself doing the exact same thing, but going into the space and being able to open my heart. And so then all of a sudden, this tool, which was, I could tell it had a certain ability and a power to open me up to certain things. It was previously causing me trauma, and now it was like allowing me to go in and do all this work in this space. And so the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because you mentioned at the beginning, right, about the finding the connection to the heart. Well, for me, it was actually the other way. It was that these psychedelics, these plant medicines, were taking me into a space, and I didn't know how to connect to my heart. And so therefore they were very difficult. And I think for a lot of people who are out there who are afraid of doing something like mushrooms or whatever it is, they're afraid because they aren't connected to their power, because that was my experience. And that fear goes away once all of a sudden we're connected to our heart and we're able to go into this space, and whatever comes up, meet it with love, presence, power, and light. And for me, like the turning point was learning how to connect to my heart, and that came without psychedelics. But as you said, everyone's different, and some people need plant medicine to be able to access those things. It's not a cookie cutter thing, one thing for everyone. And I want to share where I'm at now. Is I'm now starting to be able to get to the same place that I'm able to with cannabis, completely sober, just by doing the exact same, having the same intention, opening my heart, getting myself into the same kind of space. I'm able to lay down and start recalling all of these memories from my childhood and then just allow my consciousness to take me there. And it's really magical, because when I started this work, I was like, cannabis has got this power. Like, it's amazing. It helps me do all these things. Like, I can feel it. And when I go in there with an open heart, I can do all this work. Well, now I'm at this place where I can get to the same place completely without that. And so if anyone's listening to this, I'd highly recommend, like, the more that you get expert master level at this work, the more you're able to open yourself to the true potential. And if it can exist in you with a psychedelic or a plant medicine, whatever term you want to use, it can also exist just while you're sober. You just have to learn to open yourself to that. It's that there's no really, yes, the substance is allowing you to get there, but if you can get there, you can probably get there without it. So I challenge anyone that is having like breakthroughs on plant medicine. How can you open yourself more? How can you open up your energy, open up your heart, and become more attuned to whatever it is that you're receiving from this medicine, and figure out, how can I just get this from within? Because that's been my journey. And while I'm not having, ayahuasca visions and, all this kind of things, it's starting with, okay, now I'm able to get to the same place with cannabis. So what's the next step? Maybe I can integrate some kind of wisdom and have the same breakthroughs as I do on other plant medicines. Have you found in your journey any similarities to that, where the more and more that you've opened, you can actually access similar states of consciousness to the ones that you've found altered on plant medicine?
Absolutely. There's a saying in the medicine world that once you take the medicine's always with you, right? And it's not the actual medicine, the psilocybin, that will always be with you, or the ayahuasca that will always be in the body with you, but it's the teachings and the knowings and the knowledge that will always be with you. And that's really the medicine right there. And then how we go about integrating it. And so, I think that the plant medicine's not for everybody, and it's not meant to always be for everybody forevermore. I think it's just another tool to be able to access something that maybe is unable to be accessed through regular means or through a skill set. As far as now, I have been able to, with the tools that I've been able to gain through this coaching practice, I absolutely can access other states of consciousness and levels of awareness without plant medicine. Plant medicine served me up to a certain point, and I am now into these teachings and becoming and knowing these teachings and knowings and fully embodying them, to the point where just in my meditations and opening up my heart space and being able to allow my heart to guide me to where it needs to go, and really sitting fully present in those sensations, those messages, the downloads, the information that comes through, is really a beautiful ability to be able to again become really curious as to what these are about and what the messages are for. But absolutely being able to, because this is its own medicine, right? These teachings are its own medicine. And being able to access other levels of consciousness and awareness, I think, is a beautiful tool that we can really sit with. And that takes a matter of sitting with ourselves, which for me has always been really, really hard, is to be able to sit with myself. because I'm really good at distracting with my behaviors. And so with these tools, I'm now able to sit with myself to be able to get into a space of meditation that I haven't been able to get to before.
Yeah, and for me, I've sat in ceremony with peyote for 3 days, and I was the only person that it didn't affect. And I realize now in my journey, it was never supposed to be a part of my journey. I had to really discover the power within on my own. Not to say that I think plant medicine is beautiful, but it is a form of codependency, right? When you need something outside of you to constantly go within, and this work is like that's a tool, but you don't need that. And the example I always think is if you were dropped in the Sahara Desert and you're going through your pain, and you don't have ayahuasca or peyote or anything with you, can you go into the darkness with the power of your heart? And I think that's the magic of what we learned at Master of Self University. So with that being said, Adrienne, you've become a certified mystical life coach. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who's like, okay, so what was the 6-month program like? Could you describe the whole journey? Obviously without taking a million hours, but could you describe what the whole experience for you was like now that you finished and now that you have your clients and things like that?
One big death and rebirth process over and over and over and over
Prepared.
and over again
Yes.
is what it is.
Yeah.
I died off all of my big egoic shit that I came in with and all of the knowledge that I thought I knew, and was stripped down to the core of who I was, and then was rebuilt over and over and over again through all of the teachings, through the 6 months that I was able to spend with you beautiful people, being able to grow in front of you and alongside of you, and to be able to really support each other through this process was absolutely incredible. Next level, something I will always take with me forevermore. I hope the relationships will always be there because they're like no other relationships. Like I have a whole new soul tribe, soul family that I get to add to my current family now. And, the teachings are just like any other out there in the universe, in my opinion. And like I said earlier, I was missing, there was something about that gap that I knew it went down to childhood. I knew it went down to that situation, but I just didn't know how to pull myself up. And so I did keep reaching for the Band-Aids. I did keep reaching for, all of this stuff that didn't work. I mean, it worked, but it only worked temporary. So I think going along, being a mystical life coach, as hard as it has been, I would go through it a million more times. The pain that it was involved, I would go through it and dive and swim in it a million more times, because I now see what I need to see, and I am who I know I am and who I can help. I understand now through divine sight that this is not just about me anymore, that this is absolutely about a collective consciousness level of helping to heal, that I've come in as an absolute channel, that the gifts and talents that have been revealed to me, that I am the channel of truth. I do speak my truth. I am the truth. I am the way of truth. And I get to deliver this truth to the people who are open and willing to receive it. Is it easy being a mystical life coach? No, it's not. You have to absolutely go through this yourself. You've got to look at yourself. You have all these people looking at you as well. And you are feeling absolutely exposed to the very raw core of who you are. But it is absolutely beautiful because you get to put yourself back together the way that you know that you can. And you've got the guidance and the help. You get to lean on other people like Ellie. Again, I don't know what I would have done without having you be in my class with me. It was just absolutely one of the most special things. And I do feel really connected to you as well on some level, of some way, who knows what, I don't care. I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to experience this beautiful, a 6-month journey with you. And I'm really excited for the continued opportunities that MSU is continuing to offer. And I'm just here for the ride, whether I get clients or not, or I have 10 clients or 1 client, it doesn't matter. Like I know my job is I'm out here spreading the word, spreading the seeds of this beautiful ability to come in and offer the knowledge to be able to come in and really help yourself. let us guide you to help yourself. Yeah. Heal yourself.
You know, you mentioned the word difficult in there. It's difficult being a mystical life coach. And I think it's so true, because what you basically learn along the process is that for me, my journey was, okay, I've got to try meditation. Didn't work. Got to try breath work. Didn't work. Like, yeah, they help. Like, had to try, so like all these different plant medicines. Didn't work. Tried to try therapy. Didn't work. Like, all of these avenues that we felt, for me, I felt like I had to go down to understand that it wasn't fully healing me. It wasn't getting to the root of what was actually causing my pain and suffering, what was causing my like unsatisfactoriness with life. And so the more that I would go down these avenues, I would get so frustrated. Oh, this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't it. But they all helped, and they all helped build me up to be in a place that when I finally heard Rachel, I was open enough to receive the wisdom and receive the teaching. And for me, that was like an important part of my journey, was trying all these things. But then where we have to get to and what we become is we start to realize, oh, all these things may help, but they're not actually doing the real work. And then we have to stand in this society and basically say, this is truth, this is real healing, and all the other stuff may help, but it's not really getting to the root. And that's hard. It's hard to stand up and go against what it feels like for me is go against somewhat the grain and kind of show people, oh, there's actually more. You can go deeper with this. Like attachment styles. Yeah, they exist, but let's go deeper. Let's find why they're there in the first place. Let's not just look at the attachment style. Let's take a label. Oh, this label of I'm this way, I'm bipolar, or I'm that. Well, yeah, okay, that's a label, and that's going to keep you in this belief. But let's go deeper. And I find a lot in this work, like whenever I come to Rachel with something, she's always there to kind of push me. And the answer that I get isn't the one that I want to hear, because it's making me go deeper into myself, deeper into the teaching, deeper into wisdom, deeper into what is self. And then that is difficult because these teachings aren't being broadcast by the general public. And it's difficult. It's so difficult. And for me, the biggest thing that I found from this course that we all did versus other ones is the word integration, right? We're given these teachings, and then how well we advance, how well we heal, depends on how well we have integrated this work. And every other course, every other thing that I've looked at, it's knowledge. And it's not about like becoming the teaching. It's not about living it day by day till it becomes your state of being. It is about like they just spew out all these certifications, spew out a bunch of knowledge, and you're supposed to learn it and then maybe take a test. There's no test to become a mystical life coach. The test is how much are you actually healing? How much are you evolving? How much have you integrated this wisdom? And that is extremely difficult, and especially difficult if you've got a mind like mine that wants to, categorize, well, this is black, this is white, and to be able to really excel at this work is just how much pain are you willing to go in yourself, and how much power can you gain from all that? And that can't be quantified by a 1 or a 0 or a tick or a cross. It's down to you, and that's your journey. And all of our paths are unique and individual in that way. And that's what brings us here. And for me, that's like that word difficult. That is exactly what it encompasses. And we learn wisdom here. We teach wisdom. It isn't things that we haven't been through ourselves. These are all lessons that we got through our own experience of pain, through our own experience of suffering, of our own experience of powerlessness, or whatever it may be. And that, for me, is what really sets us apart from other programs. In your opinion, what is the main things that you found going through MSU, becoming a mystical life coach? What really set this apart from other programs that you've done?
It was, for me, it was Rachel's approach and how she spoke. It was very bottom line and no nonsense, no bullshit approach. And I loved it. It was just for her, the communication, of course, because of my communication. And I love how she spoke. But for me, it was finding that missing piece of being able to understand, one, that the programs that we run are also another form of energy. That was something for me that I had forgotten that I needed to be reminded of. But also being able to go down to the creation of that point of when that program was initiated, right? And when it was installed, and know how to be able to show our child how to grow their own power and light and get into the energy of that child. That was the key piece for me that was missing, because I kept going down in my adult logical brain. I wasn't going down into the energy of that pain. I wasn't going down into the energy of the child and understanding where the child was coming from. And I think that was, for me, the absolute biggest piece that I latched on to. I'll tell you, I attached to that one because that was, for me, that was the big highlighted piece that I was looking for. That's what made the most sense to me. And that's why this program was it's just so important for me to be able to really see, okay, this is it. This is where it's at. This is what I've been searching for. This is what I've been searching for.
Yeah. The fascinating thing about you, Adrienne, that a lot of other people haven't experienced in this whole program is that you trekked this road alongside your husband. He wasn't in the same class, but he was in another class. And man, oh man, if there's anything that I could say about you and hubby, it's that you have made miles, and he's exploded in ways that have, I think, blown us all away. So I'd love to hear, how has your marriage changed, your relationship changed, what has changed, and what is it like to kind of be rebirthed together?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when we came together with this course, we were still in a very rocky position. We didn't know if we were even going to make it or not, but we just knew that we needed to do this for ourselves, not for the relationship. And so going through the class, Rachel was very great at making sure we were in different classes, going through the same week by week by week. It was the same side-by-side class. And, we really didn't talk too much about it throughout the course. It was almost like we kept it to ourselves because we were so focused on our own journey that we weren't quite ready or hadn't quite made that healing point within ourselves to be able to come back together and discuss class and discuss how this could help us together. Because we were so focused on being healed at an individual level first. And so we really didn't mingle much together about class in our 6-month. It wasn't really until probably month 5 of month 6 that we actually came together and started talking about the coaching. We didn't even really practice coaching on one another, which I kept thinking, this is just like, we're wasting this opportunity. But then I kept thinking, well, this is me codependently reaching out on Roger to help me with my healing, where I need to learn how to go within, or I could reach out to one of my classmates, right? Because I am very codependent on Roger, and that is a program that I run. So yeah, we really didn't do much of any commingling about the program. We were very focused on our own individual processes. And we really didn't come together until month 5, until we started really discussing and helping each other and talking about our experiences along the way. And now we're to the point where, and Danny and Ellie, I don't know if you guys do this, but now it is almost so comical, the programs that we call each other out on as they're running, like, oh, I don't know, I think you might be running an attachment program, Raj, and so it's this really beautiful ability that we have gotten to where we can help each other see the things that we were we were too wounded to be able to ever bring something up like we can now. There's no way we would have been able to speak, to be able to point out, to be able to help, to be able to assist, anything without this program. And I honestly feel like if we hadn't have found this program, we would not be together. I know we would have gone our separate ways because we were just so wounded. I mean, it was just really, really sad. And so, now we're to this point where it's like it's a comical relief in our house with the stuff that we've learned, how we communicate with each other. It's so incredibly refreshing and renewed, this beautiful new opportunity to be able to have this new relationship. I mean, we've been together for 22 years, you guys, so that's really long. And it was a big process for me because we were so wounded and the relationship was so different from what it was before. It was like I had to really grieve the 22 years worth of trauma and damage that I had with him. And my God, talk about having to let go. I had no choice but to let go if I wanted a continued relationship with Roger, right? And with myself. So I had to let go of absolutely everything of who I knew, what I was, all the resistance, all the resentment that I had with him. And so again, coming into where we are now, it is very fun. It is refreshing. It is funny. It is like one big cosmic joke after another about how we call each other out, how we speak to each other. Like we even have our own universal 20 ways of oneness dance that we've created just out of pure sarcasm and inspiration in the kitchen as we were cooking one night, and like we find ourselves dropping to the floor because we're laughing so hard at ourselves, or we're laughing so hard at the other person because, we would have never been able to have done this 20 years ago. So it's just been, it has been a lifesaver, going through this coaching program for myself, but also for my relationship with Roger and for my family as well. So, yeah.
It's magical. And like the fact that you spent all this time doing this healing work individually, that's what makes it, because you're able to really learn to love yourself and heal these programs. And I find, even with Ellie over the last 6 months of we've been growing as individuals and as a couple, I'm constantly looking, why can't you coach me? Leaning on her, going there, like, you're so good, you're so amazing. Why can't you just help me? And her resistance to do that, which partly that was her own programming, which we've worked through, but it also allowed me to really have to not be codependent, not be attached, and go in. And the fact that you were able to go through, 5-6 months of just doing this journey alone, wow, that would have really accelerated your own individual growth, which when you can grow individually, then when you come together, even more growth. Amazing. Now, one of the big lessons that I've had to learn as a mystical life coach is not to play Mr. Fix-It. It would show up in my relationships. It would show up, with Ellie. It would show up with friends. It would show up with family members. And the more and more and more that I've evolved, the more that I'm able to see people for where they're at and not try and do anything. And the first, I don't know, maybe the last few years as I've been studying spirituality, consciousness, depression, anxiety, all these things, I'd have a tendency to want to help people. And it came from some aspect of love, of like, oh, I can see what's going on here. Let me try and help you. But there was definitely a wounded part of me that was just wanting to show up and take over. And over the last couple months, I've really learned just being able to see where someone's at and learn this lesson of you don't need to fix them, and that if they want help, they will come to you. And that has been, like, for me, that has been a huge one. I can tell it's changed the energy between me and a lot of my friends or anyone that I converse with, where I'm starting to see things, and instead of immediately jumping in as the coach when I'm not being asked to be the coach, and then that creates this weird energy between me and whoever this is. Is that something that you've experienced now as a mystical life coach?
Yes, but not with coaching, but with some other things that I do. So I'm a Reiki master, and one of the places that I work with is for a cancer foundation. So I have got a big Fix-It program, and I'm really empathetic, right? And so in trying to build my practice and working with these cancer patients, absolutely that was there, that wanting to come in and have everybody, I want to heal everybody, you know, I want to make everybody feel good, even if it was temporary. And so now I've come to a point where I absolutely understand that everybody is on their own unique journey and path, and the timing is perfect for them as it is perfect for me. And it has been really relieving in the sense that I'm no longer attached to that program of trying to fix everybody, because I understand that we're all at our own pace. And somebody may not be open to receive the information that I have that I would love to share, because they're just not ready to hear it yet. And that's okay. So yeah, I feel like I've gotten over that program for the most part. There are still little tendencies from time to time, I think, with close friends or even family members, where I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going on, and why can't they see it? And let me show you. But that's not what we do. We are here to help somebody, guide them to see it for themselves, so then they can be more open and receptive to more.
Yeah, I think the most humbling part of what we do as work is that we are constantly learning, we are constantly growing, we are constantly expanding, and even the people that, you know, we interact with, and we're all just teachers for each other. And I think that's the beauty of everything that we have learned in the past 6 months and going onward. Adrienne, I'm sure there's people out there that are listening. They're like, okay, I wanna, but I'm a little frightened. Any words of encouragement, inspiration for anybody at home who's teetering on the fence of, I want to take the leap, but I'm afraid?
Yeah, listen to your heart. I mean, absolutely. Listen to that pull, listen to that pull and that inspiration and guidance. Don't allow your mind to take over. And that's one of the real beautiful things that you will learn here, is how the mind will absolutely destroy you. And that we need to really take guidance and initiation from the heart always. The only time our brains are good are for math problems. That's it for me.
I'll add something to that, because there's something that you brought up earlier, and we were talking a lot about resistance. And resistance is one of the biggest programs that I had to face. And I think it's one of the biggest ones that I feel and see in society. And it's a real big one. And the resistance that you have to your own healing will actually create feelings more than just like, obviously the mind's going to tell you certain things. But what I've had to come to realize is that I can't even trust the feelings in my body, because the feelings sometimes they're coming from your heart and they're coming from divinity. And sometimes they're actually your programs. Mm-hmm. The biggest program I've had to really work on is disconnection. And the feeling that I would get is to run away, to shut off, to close down, and that whatever I'm experiencing right now isn't right. It showed up a lot between Ellie and I in our relationship. It still comes in very occasionally, but it's healed a lot. But this feeling is so overwhelming for me, and it makes me just want to run. And I know that this feeling has showed up to me in the past with other coaches that I was going to work with, other times that I was looking for healing. And that resistance, it can really create a feeling in your body, as well as the thoughts in your mind, that makes you want to run away, makes you want to stay small and hide. And that is your inner child showing up. If that is any of your experience, like if you're aware enough to understand that, yeah, these feelings of being shut down or being scared or feeling weak, that is a program that is created, that is resistance from being able to go in. And so more than just your mind, if your mind's telling you not to do this or whatever, don't listen to that always. The feelings in your body can also trick you as well. And what I've had to learn is to really integrate this teaching of Rachel's of sack the mind as the CEO, sack even my feelings as the CEO, and put my heart and my soul, my deepest knowing, whenever I'm truly connected to my heart. And this is what we teach and how to do this. Whenever we're truly connected to my heart, that that is what I put all of my faith in, and that is my CEO. And any feeling that might say otherwise, I have to learn to ignore, because I know that it is part of a program in order to keep me in my survival, keep me in my small, keep me weak, keep me powerless, locked in the 3D matrix in my ego. And my goal here in this life is to transcend all of that, to break through free, and really to enlighten and really connect all the time to my heart. And so if you are suffering from any form of resistance, just know that it is a program, and that we teach the very teachable steps and skills to overcome such a program and open yourself to the true divine nature that you are.
Yeah. Adrienne, thank you so much for being here with us. I always love your energy. I always love being vast in it. For anyone out there who wants to work with Adrienne for 3 months one-on-one, set up a free consultation with her at masterofselfuniversity.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, right?
All the good things.
All the good things. And till next time, we will see you guys then. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.